So, thank you for starting the recording. And I'm going to call this meeting to order on Wednesday, October 13th at 4:32. Just a heads up for anyone confused how this meeting is going to work today. I am going to chair part of the meeting, and then when we get to in-camera, Gabe is going to chair that part. And so we can move into our territorial acknowledgement, and we respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional and ceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means these territories had never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and were currently situated in occupied territories. I personally am on the land of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, which is why I stopped there for a second, because that's usually what my land acknowledgement is. Otherwise known as North Vancouver. Feel free to share your land acknowledgement in the chat or go on nativeland.ca and find which land you are currently on. And we can move on to our roll call of attendance, and we'll start with archaeology.
Hey guys, my name is Damon. My pronouns are he and him. Accessibility needs, I'm on campus right now, so my Wi-Fi is going to be pretty terrible, so I'm just going to turn on my camera when I'm talking. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it off. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to Bachelor of Environment. Tiana?
Hi, sorry. Hi, my name's Tiana. My pronouns are she, her, and all of my access needs are met.
Perfect. Bachelor of, Behavioral Neuroscience. Arthi, are you here today? All right, maybe they're running a little late. Biology.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you so much. Kashish, thank you for the update in the chat. Biomedical Physiology and Kinesiology.
Hi, my name is Kashish. My pronouns are she, hers. I'll be keeping my camera off for today. That's all.
Thank you so much. Chemistry.
Hi everyone, my name is Wen, pronouns are she, her, hers. All my accessibility needs are met. I just have to leave at 7:30 due to another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Cognitive science. Joanna. Alrighty. Communications.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashran Barosa. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met, except I'm trying my best to attend this meeting at full capacity because I've been awake since the morning and doing some work. So just letting you know.
All right, thanks so much, Ashran. Computing science.
Hi, my name is Ryan. My pronouns are he, him, his. All my access needs are met.
Criminology.
Hi, my name is Charlotte. She, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Data Science Union. Warren, are you here today? All right, maybe Warren will join us a little later. Economics.
My name is Mahendra Kumar. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Economics. Education. Jen, are you here today? Alrighty. Engineering science.
Hi, my name is Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
All right, thanks so much, Sarah. English.
Hi, my name is Liz. My pronouns are she, they, and all of my access needs are met. Thanks.
Thanks. Environmental science.
Hi, my name is Chloe. My pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met. Thanks.
Thanks, Chloe. Film Student Union.
Hi, I'm Amelia. My pronouns are they, them, and all my accessibility needs are met, but I do have to leave at 6:30 today.
Alrighty, thank you. French.
Hi, my name's Kylie. I use she, her pronouns, and all of my accessibility needs have been met. Thank you.
All right, and then next is myself, the Gender, Sexuality, Women's Studies. Hi, my name is Devin, she, her, hers pronouns. My accessibility needs are met. However, there's construction going outside, so if you hear noises, also I'm not in my usual space, and so there's cats everywhere that may try and get in. So if I turn off my camera, that's why. Geography. Alrighty, Natasha. Right. Global Asia Studies Student Union. Eunice. Then Joey will be a little late, or Joe Health Science Council will be a little late today, I can see, unless they're in here now. Okay. History.
Hi, my name's Alan, pronouns he, him, his, and I've been having some issues with my computer recently, so if I, drop out, that's probably my computer crashing. So I'll join back in if I can get it started. But anyways, those are just my issues.
Thanks, Alan. Indigenous Studies Student Union.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Yes. ISSU. Sorry, I know we got. Alrighty. IAT.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Felix, pronouns he, him, and they, them. I'm a bit tired because I woke up really early for work today.
Great, thanks for letting us know. ISSA.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Short. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm just dialing in hands-free on my way home from work, so hopefully you can hear me. I'll be keeping my camera off for the first part of the meeting, but that's it. My activities are met. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and yes, we can hear you. Labor Studies.
My name is Justin Chen. My pronouns are he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Alrighty, thanks so much, Justin. Linguistics. All right, Michaela. Mathematics.
Hi, my name is Ben, pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Metatronic Systems Engineering. Right in the chat, Riley McWilliams, pronouns are he, him. Mike's a little iffy, but all other access needs are met. Thank you for posting that. Molecular Biology and Biochemistry, MBB. Avneet. Operations Research.
Hi, my name is Ash, pronouns are he, him, his. All my access needs have been met. I might have to cut at 7:30 because I might need to relocate. But other than that, all access needs are met.
All right, thanks so much. Philosophy.
Hi, my name is Tony, he, him, his pronouns, and all my access needs are met.
All right, thank you, Tony. Physics.
Hi, my name is Graham Rich, pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
All right. Political Science.
Hi, my name is Abby, he, him, his pronouns, and my Wi-Fi is a little bit wonky, so I might drop out.
All right, thanks for letting us know. Psychology.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Liu. My pronouns are she, they. My Wi-Fi is also being a little bit poor today, so if I drop out, I'll try to come back in as soon as I can.
All right, thanks for letting us know. And the science counselor put their needs in the chat. So Zaid Laurie, he, him, his, and access needs are met. Thank you for that. SAS counselor, has ACOM logged on yet? ACOM in the Discord said they're running a little bit late, and so we'll make note of that. Sociology and Anthropology.
Hi, I am Kayla, pronouns she, her, hers, all my access needs are met.
Okay, thanks, Kayla. Software Systems.
Hello. My name is Shashank Thanalapati, pronouns he, him, his. My access needs are met. I'm just going to keep my webcam off for today. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Statistics. Gia. All right. Sustainable Energy Engineering Society. Mohammed, somebody said, was going to be a little bit late. Theater Student Union. Samantha at all here? Okay. And World Literature is on a leave of absence, and we'll move on to our constituency groups. FNSA.
Hi, my name is Kiana. My accessibility needs are met. However, I'm going to keep my camera off and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you so much. International Student Advocates.
Hello everyone, my name is Chi. My pronouns is she, her, hers. All my access needs have been met. Thank you.
Thank you. Soka. Is Linda here today? Alrighty. Moving on to affiliated student groups, SAC.
Hi everyone, my name is Paul. I go by pronouns he, him, his. All my accessibility needs are met, except I am at home and my Wi-Fi is terrible, and I also have to leave at 8 on the dot. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to the executive committee, and we'll start with the president.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his. And for access needs, I'm feeling quite sick today, and that's kind of why Devin's chairing a large majority of the meeting. And I will probably keep my camera off unless I'm talking, but other than that, my access needs are met.
We hope you feel better soon, Gabe, and we'll move on to the VP Internal and Organizational Development. I saw Corbett a minute ago, but maybe it's just some technical difficulties. So move on and see if Corbett can log back on and introduce themselves. VP Finance and Services.
Hi everyone, my name is Almis, pronouns she, her. My internet is terrible today, so if I drop out, please let me in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Almis. VP University and Academic Affairs.
Hey everyone, my name is Serena. My pronouns are they, she. For access needs, my internet is bad today too. Everyone's words are kind of running into each other, so just give me a second to reply. It might take a bit longer, but other than that, my access needs are met.
Perfect. Thank you for letting us know. And if you need me to repeat or anyone to repeat something, please just ask. VP External and Community Affairs.
Hi, this is Matt. My pronouns are he, him, his. My accessibility needs, unless I'm talking, I'm going to be turning off my camera just because I am with multiple people at my home right now.
All right, thank you, Matt. VP Equity and Sustainability.
Hey everyone, my name's Marie. Pronouns are she, her, hers. My access needs are met, but I'm not feeling really well today either. So I might just take a back burner today, but yeah, that's all.
All right, thank you for letting me know. And then the VP Events and Students Affairs.
Hello, my name is Jess. My pronouns are she, her, hers. All my access needs are met. I'm just going to have my camera off and I won't be taking notes for today. I don't have the capacity to do that, but if you want to take your own notes, feel free to go ahead.
Great, thank you, Jess. And I just got a message from Soka. So Linda, pronouns she, her, hers, here, but commuting home from class, hence why camera is off and potentially may lose connection, but will join promptly if that is the case. So welcome, Linda. Thank you for letting us know. And we'll move on to our society staff, operations organizer.
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and my access needs are met.
Perfect, thank you. Board organizer.
Hi everyone, this is Ella, pronouns she, her, hers, and my access needs are met as well.
Thank you. Campaign research and policy coordinator.
Hi everyone, my name is Betty, pronouns she, her, hers, access needs are met.
Thank you so much. And the admin assistant.
Hi, my name's Christina. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Right, thank you, Christina. I know that we have some guests here today, so if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself or put your information in the chat. I had your names up on my screen, but they disappeared. CJ and Paula, whoever wants to go first.
So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paola, and pronouns she, her, and hers, and my access needs are met, and I am one of the educators at the Sexual Violence Support and Prevention Office.
All right, thank you so much. CJ?
Good evening, everyone. My name is CJ Rowe, and I'm the director of the Sexual Violence Support and Prevention Office. My pronouns are they, them, their, and I'm hearing feedback, so apologies if you hear that too.
And there's a little bit of feedback, but that's no problem. Is there anyone who I missed or came in late who would like to introduce themselves? Mohammed, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Yeah, Mohammed Al Shaboul, pronouns are he, him, his. I am currently still driving back home. I'll be there in 5 minutes, but yeah, other than that, all my access needs are met.
All right,
Counsel for the CSS, by the way, yeah.
All right, thanks, Mohammed. And then Corbett, yes, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name's Corbett, VP Internal and Organizational Development. Pronouns are he, him, his, and access needs are met. Thank you.
Thank you. And then in the chat, Charlene, she, her staff writer for the Peak is here, and access needs are met. Is there anyone else, final call, that didn't get a chance to introduce themselves today? Alrighty. It will take me a minute in the consent agenda to go through all the regrets because there's more than usual that I have to then ratify. And so just give me a second when we get to that part, but we can move into the consent agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Can I get a mover for that, please?
Or moves.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder?
Michael seconds.
Oh, I honestly didn't get either of those. Oh, Gabe says no mover is needed, so that's on me. That's okay. We'll save it for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you, Gabe. And we'll move into the consent agenda. So we're filing some minutes, and then we're going to ratify some regrets. So let's start. We're going to ratify some regrets from Ayarthi, Servin Vasan, Joanna Chong, Jin Choi, Natasha Kearns, Eunice Walk, Stephanie Hernandez, Michaela Billett, Avneet Kaur, GSO, Sarah's on leave, I believe that's everyone. So Gabe, sorry, do I need a mover to ratify regrets?
I believe the time to add the motion to ratify regrets would be during the adoption of the agenda, so section 5.
Okay.
So you'd have to move an amendment.
Okay, cool. I'll do it then because I think there is some other amendments. Apologies about this, everyone. I don't often share. So then we can move into the adoption of the agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented, and then we're going to make some amendments. So I'm going to amend the names that I previously stated. So that was Ayarthi, Joanna, Jin, Natasha, Eunice, Stephanie, Avneet, Samantha, Gia today, and Ashran, you would also like to amend the agenda. I know you sent an email, so go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So I'd like to adopt the agenda item Afghan students at risk at SFU. Sorry, it was sent really last minute because it was an emergency situation. So yes, that's everything.
Great, I saw the email. When we get to that agenda, which I believe right now should be 8.2, if you could please just post the motion in the chat, that'd be super helpful. I'll also read it out. Was there any other amendments? Oh, Corbett?
Yeah, it's actually just adding on to Ashran's. I believe he, just correct me if I'm wrong, Ashran, do you also need to want to change the order of the business.
Oh, yes,
The
about that.
business for scheduling reasons and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
sure. What order are you wanting to change, Ashran?
Can we go right after our in-camera discussion? So the first new business item, because I'll be having a professor coming from the School of Communication to talk a little bit about the situation, so I have to let her know too.
Perfect. Yeah, that's totally doable. So before I go over them, any other amendments to today's agenda? So we're adding an amendment to ratify regrets, as well as an amendment to add item to new business. A motion put forth SFS in support of Afghan students at risk at SFU, and that item is being moved to be 8.1, bumping the equipment motion down. Can I get a mover for these amendments, please? Ashran, you go ahead. Ashran moves. Can I get a seconder?
Political science.
All right, thank you, political science. And then, so with this new agenda, we're moving to adopt the agenda as presented. Can I get a mover to adopt the agenda?
Software systems.
All right, thank you, software systems. Can I get a seconder?
Corbett seconds.
Corbett seconds, thank you so much. And then I'm gonna pass the chair back to Gabe at this point, just to do our in-camera.
Thanks, Devin. So we're at this point, we're at section 6 of our, let me turn my camera on. We're at section 6 of our agenda today, which is in camera, and I'll read motion 6.1 now, which reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. Do I have a mover for this motion?
Corbett moves.
Corbett moves. Do I have a seconder?
Simon, it's you.
Communication seconds, Ashran seconds. And we have one discussion item in camera, 6.1.1, titled Updates from SVSPO regarding Reddit post investigation submitted by the SESS counselor. And so we'll put this motion to a vote to go in camera. And once this passes, I'll create a breakout room in order for that in-camera session to take place. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent on this motion, please raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand feature if you'd like to vote against or abstain on this. All right, I'm seeing none. So seeing no objections. So this motion is carried unanimously, which means that we will now go into an in-camera session. Hi, everyone. We're on section 7 of our agenda now, which is X camera. And I'll read the motion now. Be it resolved to go X camera. Can I grab a mover for this motion?
BPK moves.
BPK moves. Is there a seconder?
MSU.
4 seconds.
I think that was ORSU. At least that's who I heard first. We'll put the question to a vote on going X camera. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent. If you'd like to vote against or abstain, please raise your hand now with the Zoom raise hand feature. Seeing no objections, this motion is carried with the unanimous consent of council. And at this time, we're going to take a brief recess, a brief break. And so if I can ask everyone to return to the meeting at let's go 7:10, and we will reconvene. So I'll reconvene council at 7:11 p.m. And so we've just gone X camera, and we have, sorry?
Point of order.
Oh, yeah, go. What's your point of order, Corbett?
I'd like to amend the agenda to include following motion. I'll put the document in the chat because it's a lengthy motion. It's the one I discussed in camera. So.
Corbin, maybe if possible, I've seen your motion, it's quite long, but it's mainly whereas clauses. Are you able to paste the be it resolved clauses in the chat?
I can do that. Just give me a minute because copy paste is fun.
All right, Corbett has moved an amendment to the motion, or an amendment to the agenda, sorry. So that motion has been made. Is there a seconder for this?
Acom.
Acom seconds? All right. This is stemming from discussion in camera. So I think we're safe to put this, we're voting on amending the agenda to add this motion to the agenda as it's not currently on the agenda. And so we'll put this to a vote, and I'll ask all those in favor seeking unanimous consent on the motion to amend the agenda.
Sorry, point of information.
Okay.
Do I need to also amend the agenda order so that this gets discussed and voted on first?
Was that your intention?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just, we'll consider that the motion we're voting on is to amend the agenda to include your motion, but that we're also considering it right away. So first, under new business. So once again, I'll ask seeking unanimous consent on the motion. All right, this is carried. And so we'll move, based on that motion that was just made, we will move into considering the motion that was just added to the agenda. And so I'll read the motion now, and then we'll enter into discussion. It's quite a long one, so it's going to take me a while to read. So bear with me while I do that. So whereas sexual misconduct is a serious matter requiring survivor-centric and trauma-informed policies and processes to avoid re-victimizing the survivor, whereas survivor-centric process respects the rights, needs, and wishes of the survivor, whereas the survivor-centric processes involves the right to dignity and respect, being able to choose the course of action in dealing with the violence, privacy and confidentiality, non-discrimination, and being provided with comprehensive information to help them make their own decisions on what to do. Whereas trauma-enforced processes are based on the understanding of the prevalence of many forms of violence and trauma among children and adults, including but not limited to developmental, historical, simple/complex, weather-related, war-related, sexual violence-related, or gender-based. Whereas the bylaws, policies, and processes need to be continually improved to be survivor-centric, trauma-informed, and anti-oppressive through collaboration with survivors, women, and non-binary folks, SVSPO, equity-seeking groups, and the community at large on campus to ensure members, as well as staff, are continually supported by our processes and procedures and feel empowered to center survivors and rid the campus of sexual violence. Whereas any changes to the SFSS bylaws, policies, and processes concerning sexual misconduct should involve extensive prior and informed consultation with survivors, equity-seeking groups, and legal advisors in drafting those changes. Whereas council, as a decision-making body, is neither trained nor qualified to handle sexual misconduct cases. Whereas the SFSS has a signed memorandum of understanding, an MOU, as an abbreviation, with SFU Sexual Violence Support and Prevention Office, the abbreviation being SVSPO, on receiving and processing disclosures on sexual misconduct on SFSS property. Whereas this MOU with SVSPO Whereas this MOU and the SFU's Sexual Violence and Misconduct Prevention Education and Support Policy, which is GP 44, were created with extensive consultation with survivors, women, and non-binary folks on campus, as well as SFSS representatives and community members. Whereas those policies would not have been developed without strong advocacy from survivors to the provincial government, which required universities to develop these standalone and independent policies. Whereas committing to develop our own investigative sexual misconduct office to receive and process disclosures of SFSS members would require revoking the MOU, as there would be legal ramifications with breaking the MOU. Whereas revoking the MOU requires a 2/3 council vote unless provided a 2 weeks notice to council as has been given, wherein that vote would only require a simple majority votes cast. Whereas if there are areas for improvement to the SVSPO's mission, supports, and services should be led through advocacy. Whereas a working group made up of council members would similarly not be trained or qualified to develop an investigative sexual misconduct office, nor its policies, processes, missions, and other relevant items. Whereas these discussions have been and will continue to be harmful to survivors on council. Whereas this lack of training and lack of prior consultation with survivors and equity-seeking groups in the SFSS risks real harm and re-victimization of current and future survivors. Be it resolved that the SFSS continue to use its MOU with the SVSPO in handling sexual misconduct disclosures that involve SFSS membership. Be it further resolved that council will not entertain such motions to develop its own investigative sexual misconduct office without first developing survivor-centric and trauma-informed policies and processes, which have been through an extensive prior consultation process with survivors, equity-seeking groups who are disproportionately harmed by this misconduct, and legal advisors. And lastly, be it resolved that the council ensures and tasks the VP Equity and Sustainability with the implementation of mandatory sexual violence prevention and responding to disclosure training for counselors and society staff, as well as ensure the collaboration and consultation of equity-seeking groups on any proposals for additional sexual violence prevention supports, advocacy, and programs. Is there a mover for the motion on the table?
Corbett moves.
All right, so Corbett moves the motion. Is there a seconder?
Marie.
Marie seconds. All right, Corbett, you're the mover of the motion, so you have the floor to explain the motion at hand.
Thank you, Gabe. This motion came out of a response to a proposed motion by another council member, the Sustainability and Energy Engineering Student Society, Mohammed, and fundamentally it's about, sorry, Akam's chat may be relevant, but I'll do my best to stick with it. Related to create, I'm sorry, my apologies, might be easier just to read it out. 1 second. So my motion is a response to this following motion. Whereas the SVSBO, the SFS, and SU are not properly equipped to handle investigation and are mostly involved in education and survivor supports, whereas recent rumors and allegations of sexual misconduct have been made apparent as history of misconduct in SFU is well known due to lack of accountability on the abusers. Be it resolved that council commit to establishing a staff sexual misconduct support office under the SFS with the duty of receiving and processing sexual misconduct cases committed within the membership. Be it further resolved that the council establish an SFS sexual misconduct office working group with the objective of developing the responsibilities, purview, missions, logistics, personnel, and finances of establishing the office. Be it further resolved that the VP Internal and VP Finance be available as consultants to the working group. We have resolved that the working group, alongside the SFU Sexual Violence Support and Prevention Office, reevaluate the SFS's agreement with the SFSPO, agreement on process for addressing allegations of sexual violence and misconduct between SFU and SFS to ensure effective collaboration and action between the SFU, SFSPO, and the SFS SMO. We have further resolved to appoint Mohammed Shabul as chair of the SFS SMO working group. We have resolved to appoint X as members of the SFS SMO working group. The reason why I wrote this out is to give context for what my motion is talking about, because it is more or less a direct response to his. The way I characterize this is that his motion is to come with a solution and then find your way there. And when it relates to the very seriousness of supporting survivors of sexual misconduct, sexual violence, that we can't do it that way, that council members are not trained to be able to effectively develop an investigative office. That in fact the argument is we shouldn't have an investigative office because it would be in conflict with us to do also do advocacy and support and changes. That we need to do a significant amount of consultation with equity seeking groups, survivors, and legal experts for this kind of action, and that there's a lot of history built into our memorandum of understanding with the SVSPO, with the fact that this office exists in the first place in SFU, but the policy related to that SFU's policy for sexual violence is missed in the original motion, and the fact that these discussions in camera cause a lot of harm to our council members, some who are survivors, and that until we've done our homework, until we've done better training ourselves, and well as done a thorough full consultation with survivors, equity seeking groups, as well as legal experts, that we do not re-entertain a motion like Mohammed's again. So thank you.
Thank you, Corbett. Did anyone want to speak to the motion? I see that Abby is on the speakers list.
Yeah, I wanted to make a minor amendment to the motion. I wanted to add, I'm not sure how to word this, so I'm going to need a little bit of help, but I wanted to add a section requiring council members and the executive to have mandatory sexual violence and prevention training. I know you guys said you're taking steps to do that, but that's this government, and we don't know 5 years down the road if there's gonna be a government that doesn't care about that, right? So I'd prefer that we have it in motion and it's mandatory.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Abby, for that. If you'll just give me a minute, I need to check something before I move forward with your amendment. Just bear with me a moment. Okay. I just needed to check our orientation and retention policies because I had a feeling that it might have already been in there, but it does not look that it is. And so we can work on wording to add this into the motion. Murray has put some proposed wording in the chat. I'll just read it out loud.
Oh, I haven't. Sorry, that's actually the last be it further resolved that kind of touches on it. But I was asking if you wanted to like amend this.
Abby, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to Well, maybe I put this full screen.
Your intention is to essentially make a commitment for counselors to receive training.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So is the last be it further resolved clause, the one in which Marie pasted in the chat, does that encompass already what you were thinking about, or no? Is there something else that you are trying to add that's not there?
No, I think that should be okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Abby. Any discussion? Marie, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make this really short, but I just want to thank Corbett for your labor. There's a lot of things in here that encompass how important it is to just like center people who are most affected. And when people who are most affected are centered, all of us inherently win. But I would just like really appreciate going forward with implementing more training for counselors. I think many reasons why conversations possibly can be harmful is because of that lack of training, and I'm just really happy that that part is in there, and I really hope people could support that too.
Thank you, Marie. Akam.
Just a quick question again. I was wondering if that mandatory course would also, if it's possible for us to make that mandatory for every DSU and club executive as well, just because DSUs and clubs fall under the SFSS. So it'd be really nice to have sort of training for all of our membership, at least everyone that's in student leadership positions. And I also wanted to, I'm losing my train of thought.
You want to tackle your first question and then come back to your second one?
Really helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. Corbett, did you want to respond to that, I guess, as the author of the motion?
Yes, we could amend it to include that. And I support that move because it's needed.
Okay. So there would need to be a formal amendment for that. So I
have a point of order. It's already in the motion, so there's no amendment needed. Look at the last clause already ensures training.
For departmental student unions?
For counselors.
The question was for,
I think the question was for DSUs and clubs.
Yeah, to clarify, it was for DSUs and club leaders. So the entire executive team for every DSU that falls under the SFSS, as well as club leaders. My second question also was that I know that Paula mentioned that they had already created a Canvas course. So I just wanted to ask if that even could be incorporated in this, and if we can make training like that also available to all counselors, so they know what supports are available and they also know how to handle disclosures that happen in their own clubs.
Yeah, I just want to respond quickly to a couple of your points. First of all, I think that both for kind of training for counselors and staff, society staff, at a future meeting, we can bring forward a notice of motion to amend our orientation and retention policies to actually explicitly state that sexual violence prevention and disclosure training is mandatory for counselors at the beginning of their elected term or whenever they are elected in a by-election. And we can also work with staff to try and society staff to make training materials for clubs and DSUs, which I think could probably also include working closely with SVSPO on training modules that already exist. Yeah, let me refocus myself on the list. And I think the next person is Tony.
Yeah, so what would this motion mean in regard to the survivor the case that we talked about in camera? Because this will be kind of hard to navigate.
Yeah, hold on a minute, Tony. I think we're venturing into dangerous territory here. I do not believe we can talk about that in the public meeting as it was in camera. So I can't allow you to speak about that. Did you have another question about something else? You can relist yourself if you do have something. All right. Is there any other questions or comments at this time? Jess, please go ahead.
Okay, I want to thank Corbett for helping write this motion. I also want to thank the Black, Indigenous, and people of color and women and Two-Spirit and LGBTQ folks and survivors of sexual assault who were consulted in making this motion. It's important that there is consultation with these community groups because those are the groups that are affected most by sexual violence and assault. I read and provided feedback to this motion with my own experiences. So I just want to say that it's important to make sure that the work we do regarding sexual assault and violence is met with an empathetic approach in which we center the survivor. I also want to make sure that folks who didn't disclose their experiences, that they are still valid. It's important that there are people in these positions who are able to make these decision-making processes that are at the core of these policies and groups. And that we approach these discussions with care and that we provide space and compassion to those affected. This motion is able to have an approach where we can have this. I support the education and training that is provided in this motion. I also want to thank SVSPO staff for willing to help us with this and helping survivors in a healthy and safe way. And it's important to recognize the work and labor that has been done and that we must also amplify their services as well to support our community and people who we know personally who have been affected. And will voice my support for this motion. And I encourage you to do the same.
Thank you, Jess. Devin, you're up next.
Yeah, I just kind of a point of clarification / I have the amendment kind of just changed slightly for that last a be it further clause, if we were going to amend to include DSU executives and club executives. So I wasn't sure what the process was at the current moment, but I can do that if needed.
Did you have an amendment you wanted to propose?
Yeah, I guess my clarifying question was, I know that you said we would amend something next week, the next meeting. So I wanted to double check. We didn't also want to amend Corbett's. So
yeah, we can absolutely amend Corbett's motion right now. I think what I was talking about was that in addition to amending Corbett's motion, at a future meeting, we can propose a policy amendment whereby this would be more solidified in policy as opposed to just an emotion and a resolution of council.
That makes sense.
So yeah, by all means, if you have an amendment to propose, you are able to do so.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion put forth by Corbett for the last be it further resolved clause to read, be it further resolved that council ensures and tasks the BP equity and sustainability with the implementation of mandatory sexual violence prevention and responding to disclosure training for DSU executives, club executives, counselors, and society staff, as well as ensure the collaboration and consultation of equity-seeking groups and any proposals for additional sexual violence prevention supports, advocacies, and programs. So the only change is adding DSU executives and club executives. And I hope that encompasses the suggestions that Ecom made. I can put it in the chat as well if my copy-paste function is working.
Yes, please. That would be fantastic if you could. Let me just write this down. Devin is moving an amendment to the main motion. And from what I understand, it's the amendment is to add DSU executives, club executives to the motion. That's the main change being proposed. Okay, perfect. So Devin has proposed an amendment. She has moved it. We need a seconder for it.
Political science.
Okay, that's Abby seconds. Yeah, is there any discussion on the amendment? Serena, please go ahead.
I hope we don't have to make, wait, can folks hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I hope we don't have to make an amendment to an amendment, but does DSU and club, including that language, does that exclude constituency groups and student groups as in SAC?
That's a good question. Maybe I'll defer to Devin as the mover of that amendment.
I originally was including any group under the SFSS, and probably that would have been better language. I was just quickly trying to make sure we got the amendment. We can quickly do an amendment to include, we can either do any student group under the SFSS, if that would be better languaging, or we could list them out. But I'm sorry for not including that in the first place. I completely slipped my mind.
You know what? This is where the nerdy part of me, the part that loves Robert's rules, starts to get really excited because we're doing an amendment to an amendment. So there's one potential amendment being to the amendment being proposed to add constituency groups to the list of groups that would receive the training. And I also want to, well, okay, let's focus on one thing at a time. So Devin has, well, Devin, was that you who's moving this amendment?
I think it was Serena, but I can move it and include those groups if needed to.
Okay, sure. So Devin moves. Serena, did you want a second?
Yes, but so we don't have to make 3 amendments. Also include SFUs, FSUs, as Graham mentioned in the chat.
FSUs. What I would recommend is just striking the word departmental so that it says student unions, so that it's all encompassing. Would that work?
That sounds good to me.
Lovely. And so Devin, as the mover of the amendment to the amendment.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I don't want us to, again, to have to make another amendment. Just in case there's another type of group or something that comes out that'd be under the SFSS, say that wouldn't count as a constituency group or a student union, do we want to maybe just say any group under the SFSS again, just so like there's no like loopholes or anything like that?
There are only 3 types of, well, 4 types technically: student unions, constituency groups, affiliated student groups. Sorry, hold on. Student unions, constituency groups, affiliated student groups. Am I missing one? Oh my goodness. And clubs. Those are the 4. There isn't really any other type of group under the SFSS that would exist that we would be missing here. If you're not a constituency group, then you're registered as a club.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a lot that just happened in the last 3 minutes, so I'm just going to clarify where we are at. Devin proposed an amendment to add departmental student unions and club executives to the main motion. An amendment to the amendment has been proposed to strike the word departmental, and we are also adding constituency groups to the motion. So Devin has moved that amendment to the amendment. I need a seconder for this before we can move into discussion on that.
Marie.
Marie seconds. Okay, we're really down to the minutia now. Okay, any discussion on these 2, I think just simple wording changes? Seeing none, we'll put the amendment to a vote. All those in favor of the amendment to the amendment, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. All right, I'm seeing no objections, so this is carried, which means we'll move back to the amendments to the main motion, which is proposing now to add to the last be it further resolved clause of the main motion the following: student union executives, constituency groups, club executives, counselors, and society staff. This is what we're voting on now. This is the amendment to the main motion. Any last discussion on this? Okay, I hope everyone's following. I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining where we are. But we'll put the amendment to the main motion to a vote. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent on the amendment to the main motion. All right, this is carried unanimously. So we're back on the main motion, which the main motion as amended, which now includes everything we just jumped through hoops to add. Any discussion on the main motion now that we've amended it a couple of times? Akam, go ahead, please.
I actually wanted to ask whether we would be able to delay this motion just until the next council meeting. And I want to make it extremely clear that I'm not asking to delay the motion because I'm against the motion. All I really want is a chance to talk to my DSU about it. I feel much more legitimate in my position as a council member when I've had the chance to go to my DSU to discuss, to have a variety of viewpoints, to come back with questions, to talk about any concerns with student members, anything like that, and actually come back and vote and be able to say that I'm voting for SAS and voting in the best interests of SAS. So to be clear, this does not mean that I'm against the motion. All I'm asking is a little bit of time to take this back to my DSU. I also do completely understand that this is important and this is sensitive, and that obviously that means that we would want to get it passed as soon as possible. But I still don't think that I'm really doing my job as a council member when I haven't had enough time to talk to my DSU about it. Or just, I don't know if that would be an amendment to delay just until the next council meeting.
So if I am understanding correctly, are you proposing a motion to postpone?
Yes.
Okay, to the next meeting.
Yes. I'm sorry if that's after the AGM, and I'm sorry if that's in November. But because this happened just this meeting, I haven't been able to talk to anyone about it. I think that we would benefit from being able to discuss this further with other students.
So ACAM has moved to postpone the motion to the next meeting. To be able to consider the motion to postpone, we need a seconder for this. Is there a seconder?
History seconds.
History seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion to postpone? Devin, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, Akam, I'm totally understand your point of wanting to postpone and talk to your DSU. That's very understandable. However, my concern is having to have this conversation again. I know for many in this room, every time having this every council meeting feels so incredibly hard, and it's something you dread leading up to the council meeting. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to have this conversation again. It's really like and like I very much understand our job as counselors and wanting to go and talk to your DSU. I really, really do. But I'm just trying to give the other perspective from my side of just that feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't want to have this conversation again. I can't do this again. And so I just wanted to give that balance. So I know that wasn't very like eloquent, but yeah, that's just how I'm feeling. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing, Devin. Ryan, you're next, and then after that, Jess.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm really glad Akam brought up the idea of delaying this because, I mean, okay, first of all, it would be pretty disappointingly ironic if a motion regarding having, proper consultation was rushed through without any, consultation from our constituencies. Moreover, unless I'm misreading this, this motion is not time sensitive. First be it resolved clause is to continue using our MOU. Legally speaking, that's the default. Second be it resolved clause is to not entertain a motion that we're not entertaining. That's, again, the default. That's already happening. And so I guess the downside to delaying this item would be the training clauses that we added in the amendments towards council members, execs, DSU, club reps, and so on. That would get delayed, but that also does not strike me as particularly time sensitive. And I think in the interest of, fairness to the institution, if we have no reason to rush through this, yeah, we should absolutely consult with our DSUs beforehand. And I mean, I understand it's probably not pleasant to have this conversation over and over and over again. And I don't want to force anybody into a compromising position, but having to choose between due process and our own uncomfortability, I mean, like, this is what we're being paid to do, right? From a societal perspective, like, it makes sense to delay this because if we don't, we're basically the only people at SFU that know this is happening. That's not democratic at all. We're not representing anybody but ourselves.
The next on the speakers list, Akam, did you have a clarifying question for Ryan?
Yeah, it was a clarifying comment, actually. I just wanted to clarify that it's not just unpleasant, it is very much traumatic for a lot of people. So to be clear, just because I'm comfortable taking this to my DSU doesn't mean that everyone else here will be. Just because the motion is being delayed does not mean that everyone here is obligated to keep having these discussions. I am sorry that if this motion does get delayed, that we will have to have the discussion one more time. But I hope that this means that whoever is actually comfortable taking this is actually able to go back and have the conversations that they need to have with their DSUs, just to clarify.
Orbit, you have a DR as well?
Yeah, or maybe it should have been a list either way. So the three be resolved clauses are, as to reiterate a little bit with Ryan's, maintain our use in the MOU, that we're not going to have motions that will really lead to similar conversation that will cause harm to our own committee members until we've gone through proper training. When the last one is to work towards getting proper training. So to me, you can make an argument that it's not time sensitive, but my perspective, one, it is time sensitive because we've already caused harm within our own body here, and two, there's not really a need to delay it either. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but because basically the linchpin would be, do we want more training or not as counselors? And I don't think we need to, that shouldn't be much of a topic of discussion. I mean, controversy. So I don't see the need to wait a whole month to go back to this motion and discuss it and pass it.
Joselle, you have a point or a request for information?
I'm not sure if this is the right part of Robert's rules, but I was just curious, like, how do we talk about this with our DSUs without breaching in camera? Just because I know, like, obviously we're talking about the motion, but in terms of like context and stuff, I'm just curious how that's going to be done.
That's a good question. I'll read out loud what I pasted in the chat a little bit ago. And that said, essentially anything that was already discussed in camera related to A, privileged information, and B, case-specific information, that is confidential and sensitive information and can't be discussed with your DSUs. You're bound by what is discussed in camera by the Societies Act to keep that information confidential. However, what you are able to discuss with your DSUs is to express your thoughts, discuss your opinions, specifically regarding the motion at hand, which is dealing with the SFSS's stance on the SVSPO SFSS MOU, as well as our stance on SFSS establishing its own office to sexual violence office. And so that would be the limitations and bounds by which you would be able to have those conversations with your DSUs and constituency groups. Jess, are you prepared to speak next? You're up on the speakers list. And just remembering we're considering the motion to postpone. You can
I
go
don't
ahead.
think that this is a good idea to postpone. So many of us have already, every meeting that we've had in the past month, all of the back-end work that the execs have been doing to come up with this motion, to consult each other, to work on this has been so incredibly draining and tiring. I haven't stopped shaking since we started this meeting, and I don't want to go to another council meeting that I dread going to. What we talk about is not easy. When people talk about their lived experiences in this online platform that's recorded and not recorded at the same time, like, it's really difficult. It's not just another agenda item to do. It's not just another discussion topic. Like, people are actually, every single time when they read something, when they have to seek support afterwards, when they talk to someone else, when they have to go through it, like, it's really hard. And I'm so tired of this. And like, we need action now. And you think that like, it's not immediate. We should have done this a long time ago. We should have like done this work so long ago, but we have to wait until people keep getting harmed, until someone brings something up to talk about it. You were elected into this council position for a reason, because people trusted you to represent their student body when they can't be there to hear these in-camera discussions. And that's my fear, that when folks go back to their student groups, like, people may mess up. And they may disclose things by accident about what happened in camera, about what happened to that person, about what was talked about, whether it was in the chat or what was disclosed confidentially in private. So you have to be mindful of how you approach this. It's not about politics. I'll keep saying that we have to approach these things with care and with empathy. These are not easy, and we can't keep doing this. And we have to work together as a collective to make sure that our policies, our processes, the way that we talk about this is careful and safe, and that it creates a community where we can lean on each other. You've been having trainings on equity, diversity, and inclusion since day one when you started in May. Every dev session, we've always had this approach. The executives have led this by example in all of our meetings and all of the advocacy work that we do. So I encourage you to rethink this, and just to make sure that like, we take care of each other, because we haven't been. And it's been so frustrating to come every single Wednesday about this. And I really want to see collective action in a way that's appropriate, in a way that's fast, in a way that where we have the right people. And when we move forward from these meetings, that we have the space to do that, and that people can come to these without being triggered every time. Because so many things have come up for us as individuals that we chose not to disclose and that we chose not to share. So yes, this is urgent.
Thank you for sharing, Jess. I'm just mindful, one, of time, and B, of the amount of exhaustion that people are experiencing right now. I can't really see what other discussion we can have on the motion to postpone. So I think it's rather wise for us to move to a vote on this motion to postpone.
Excuse me, could we go through a few more people on the list first?
Do you have anything different to say? That's
slightly, yes. But I don't want to skip the list. So if anyone before me would like to speak first, I would stick to my current position.
Honestly, Warren, my ruling is that we move to a vote on this. So that's what we're going to do. And so I anticipate that this vote is going to be contentious. So we're going to do this by roll call vote. And so I'm going to ask folks to speak, to either indicate yes, no, or an abstention if they, when called on by position. And so we'll start with archaeology. How do you cast your vote?
We're voting no against postponing. I just want to make sure it's no is against postponing it.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Bachelor of Environment.
Also no against postponing.
Behavioral Neuroscience.
Also no.
Biology.
I would like to abstain.
BPK.
Against.
Chemistry.
Gwen had to
Chemistry had to leave earlier.
Oh, thank you. Cognitive science. Communications.
Abstain.
Computing science.
In favor.
Criminology. Criminology. Data science.
In favor.
Economics. Education. Engineering science.
Abstain. I'd like to abstain, please.
English.
Against.
Environmental science.
Against.
Film. French.
Against.
GSWS.
Against, no.
Health, Global Asia Studies. Health Sciences.
Against.
History.
In favor.
Indigenous Studies. Interactive Arts and Technology. International Studies.
Against.
Labor Studies. Linguistics. Math.
Math votes in favor on the motion to postpone.
Megatronics.
Abstains.
MBB.
Against.
Operations Research. Philosophy.
In favor.
Physics.
Against.
Political science.
In favor.
Psychology.
Against.
Science Undergrad Society. SAS.
In favor.
Sociology and Anthropology. Software Systems.
In favor.
Statistics. Sustainable Energy Engineering. Theater.
Against.
World Literature. First Nations Student Association.
Against.
International Student Advocates.
Against.
SOCA.
Against.
Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Moving on to the Executive Committee, the President votes against. VP Internal.
Against.
Finance and Services. Against. University and Academic Affairs.
Against.
External and Community Affairs,
Against.
Equity and Sustainability,
Against.
Events and Student Affairs.
Against.
Has anyone not had an opportunity to cast a vote?
Did you get Zaid's in the chat?
I'm sorry, Devin?
Sorry, did you get Zaid's in the chat? He was in favor, just to confirm.
I did not. Thank you for pointing that out. I've recorded that vote. So please give me a minute to tally the results of this vote. All right. I've tallied the votes. So on this vote, the yes votes were 9, the no votes were 24, and there were 4 abstentions, which means that the motion to postpone is not carried. And so we'll move back to the main motion, and the floor is still open for debate on the main motion. There's no more discussion on the main motion. Tony.
Yeah, I figured out how I wanted to word that question previously. So my inquiry is that given that it is publicly stated that the SVSPO cannot handle investigations, only focuses on education and support, what does it mean in regard to potential case support ad hoc, post hoc, after going through proper channels, and supposing misconduct is found, as we cannot actually bring further cases of sexual violence to council?
Yeah, that's a good question. Did anybody want to tackle that question? I'm not sure if either CJ or Paula is still here.
Hi, Gabe. Still here. I'm trying to understand, Tony, if you're talking about how the motion is phrased, or in terms of the investigation processes as they're carried out through SFU procedures.
Yeah, so basically, given how the motion is phrased, is that further cases of sexual violence cannot be brought to council, and we since it can't be, and if it goes to proper channels, like SFU proper channels, and misconduct is found, how does this kind of affect the duties or kind of the actions of the council in regard to those potential cases, I guess?
I think in terms of if there is a formal investigation that goes forward, and findings are found that someone has breached policy, I mean, it would be a conversation that would come to council anyway. We would work through proper channels to ensure that the right sanctions were imposed. So in terms of bringing, I would hope that future cases of sexual violence and perpetrators wouldn't actually come to this conversation, because this would be a private matter that would be handled through proper channels that are protected by various layers of legislation, policy, and practice. So I think I'm not quite sure how else to answer your question.
Sorry, everyone, my Zoom crashed there for a minute, but I did hear what CJ said. Corbett, maybe you can clarify too on the what the motion is actually trying to do in terms of what actually comes to council, because I think there might be some confusion around that.
Yeah,
I think what I understand, sorry, is that your motion, it says that council will not entertain motions to develop its own office, but that doesn't mean that nothing ever related to sexual misconduct is coming to council.
exactly. It's just that until we have had extensive prior consultation process with survivors, equity seeking groups who are disproportionately harmed by this misconduct, and legal advisors, which means like until we've done our homework, we shouldn't jump to a solution on an office or not. That's what this motion is saying. It's not blocking anything. It's not blocking sexual misconduct cases, but ultimately that would also still go through the MOU, like through the MOU process, and then we would receive it through SFSPO would work with us on how if it leads to investigation through their process and practices, and then come back to us.
Thank you, Corbett. Joselle, you're up next.
Yeah, am I able to just speak my support for this motion that we're voting on?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to voice my support for this motion that Corbett put together. I want to remind folks that as we're elected as councillors, there's a reason for that, as previously mentioned by other folks, that we're able to vote in good faith, and also that there should, in the case that this were to go back to our DSUs, this shouldn't even be something that is contentious to begin with. There is nothing controversial about talking about this and making sure that supports are available and about this topic. So I just encourage folks to keep that in mind when you're voting. Thank you.
There's no one else at the speakers list at this time, so we're going to move to a vote at this point on the main motion. And so I'll pose the question now. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, please raise your hand with the Zoom raise hand feature if you would like to vote against or register an abstention. So there is one hand raised, and as per protocol, we will move to a roll call vote. So you can lower your hands now and we'll move to a roll call vote. All right, Archaeology.
We are in favor of the motion.
Bachelor of Environment.
In favor.
Behavioral Neuroscience.
In favor.
Biology.
In favor.
BPK.
In favor.
Communications.
Favor.
Computing Science.
Abstain.
Data Science. Data Science. Engineering Science.
In favor.
English.
In favor.
Environmental Science.
In favor.
French.
In favor.
GSWS.
In favor.
Health Science.
In favor.
History.
Abstains.
International Studies.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting my mic. In favor.
No worries. Math.
Math abstains.
Megatronics.
Abstains.
MBB.
In favor.
Philosophy.
Abstain.
Physics.
In favor.
Political Science.
In favor.
Psychology.
In favor.
Science Undergrad Society. In favor. SAS.
In favor.
Software systems.
Abstain.
Theater.
In favor.
FNSA.
In favor.
ISA.
In favor.
SOCA.
In favor.
SAC, are you present? We'll move on to the executive committee. The president votes in favor. VP Internal.
In favor.
VP Finance and Services. In favor. VP University and Academic Affairs.
In favor.
VP External and Community Affairs.
In favor.
VP Equity and Sustainability.
In favor.
VP Events and Student Affairs.
In favor.
Has anyone not had an opportunity to cast a vote?
Sorry. I was also in another meeting as well too. Could you quickly recap on what we're voting in favor and against?
We're voting. When did you leave, Jeremy?
Quite a while ago. I took about a 30-minute break from 7:10 to 8.
Were you here when Corbett amended the agenda to add a motion?
I was not.
All right. Would somebody please be able to paste the motion in the chat? At least the be it resolved clauses so that Jeremy can see. I have the first two, but the last one was amended and I don't have that. So if someone is able to post that real quick. Okay, I found it. Did anyone, while we're just Jeremy's reading the motion, did anyone else not cast a vote and they would like to?
I also was gonna, I will reading that maybe we just shut down the chat for tonight. I think it's getting out of control, Gabe. Other than for lists, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just, I feel like it's maybe not the most productive right now. Just a thought.
I personally don't know how to do that, but I'll look into it.
I mean, we still need it for lists, but just maybe I'm just asking, maybe that these conversations happen either through lists or in other capacities, especially as we're trying to get through important motions and everything like that. I understand that they are important, but I just feel like throughout tonight, they have been quite, maybe not, I don't know what the word is, but sorry, my brain is just not here. I just want to make sure everyone feels comfortable in this space without feeling like there's with the chat. So maybe we could just only list this evening for the rest, if that's okay with everyone.
Thank you, Devin. Just mindful that we're still on a vote. Jeremy, do you have a vote that you'd like to cast?
Yeah, so this is for what Corbett added, correct?
That's correct.
And I am in favor. Thank you.
Okay, let me please tally the votes. Just give me 30 seconds or so. All right, I've tallied the votes. So the on this vote, the yes votes are 31. There are 0 no votes and 6 abstentions. So technically this still passes unanimously, as abstentions are technically just not a non-vote. So this motion is as I said, carried unanimously. Yeah. Devin, is it all right if I pass the chair off to you at this point? I'll still be here. I'm just are you able to chair?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually going to motion to extend this meeting till 9 just to give a cushion, because Ashton is bringing a really time-sensitive motion to us today and brought a professor, and they've been waiting a long time. And so we are going to move to what is now 8.2. And Ashran, if you could post yours, I'll read it out, but if you could post it again in the chat, that would be so great.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Devin,
Yeah.
but I'm not able to send it to everyone because the chat has been disabled. So I'm just able to send it to co-host and host. So I'm just letting you know about that.
Oh, okay, sure. If you want to send it to me, I should be able to put it in the chat. Perfect, hopefully. Sorry, everyone, give me a sec. Downloads. Sorry, I'm taking so long, everyone. My computer is so, oh no. I'm sorry. Does anyone else have those that they can put them in the chat? My computer is just not being my friend today. Maybe this.
Let me see if I can find it, Devin.
Okay,
Was it sent via email?
Oh, I just sent that to somebody instead. It's in the email, but Ashran also just put it in the chat. Or if Ashran, we can just give him host abilities for a sec. I should be able, oh no, okay. To put it in. Ashran, you can send them to Marie. Perfect. I'll just start reading the motion for sake of time. I really do apologize. I'm on a different computer today. But the title is FSS in support of Afghan students at risk at SFU, and it reads, whereas there's a crisis in Afghanistan as it relates to the transition of government, whereas many students are affected by the happenings and need dire support, including grad students and undergrad students, whereas SFU International reached out to the School of Communications and administrators to ask for support for Afghani scholars at risk back in August, whereas the program is designed to help Afghani scholars come to Canada through student visas or work visas by hiring them for research or teaching contracts, example, 2 to 3 year contracts, whereas a prospective Afghani PhD student with his family has been struggling to leave the country and start his program in Canada, whereas this student would need support for flights, accommodation, and stay in a second country while their visa issues are being sorted out, whereas SFU has put out a call for resources and a call to action in support of scholars in Afghanistan. Be it resolved that the SFSS supports this Afghani student. Be it further resolved that Council directs the Executive Committee, including VP Finance and Services, to work on a support fund for Afghan undergraduate and graduate students in crisis in collaboration with the GSS, so graduate students and undergraduate students can be supported in coming to SFU. Be it further resolved that support funds come from an appropriate line item determined by the VP Finance and Services, and that they consult with the student and family on appropriate disbursement process. Be it resolved that council approve an initial $1,000 from an appropriate line item by the VP Finance and Services to support an initial costs. Be it further resolved to donate an additional $1,000 to the SFU Scholars at Risk program for Afghan students through SFU Advancement. Be it further resolved that the SFSS shares SFU calls to action as well as promote SFU Scholars at Risk program to support students at SFU resources call to action. And then there's a link to resources and calls of actions in support of scholars at risk in Afghanistan and a donation link. Ashran, if you would like to speak on this motion.
Hello, everyone. So I'd like to actually give my floor to a professor from the School of Communications. It's Kirsten McAllister. So she would like to talk about this.
Yes, give me 1 second. I forgot to do a mover and a seconder. Sorry, my brain is not fully here today. Can I get a mover? Ashra, would you like to move? Yeah. And can I get a seconder?
Marie.
Marie, perfect. And Professor, would you like to introduce yourself and speak on what you need to?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kirsten McAllister. I'm a professor in the School of Communication. And I want to thank Ashran and all of you at SFSS for this opportunity to speak about this issue. As you all know, and as Ashran's motion so beautifully discussed, Afghanistan is in crisis now. After the US left and the Taliban took over, the Taliban has been going after journalists, activists, human rights defenders. It's fired women from all leadership positions. Now I believe it's only boys who can attend school after grade 6. There's been drought, economic collapse. So there's discussions now about starvation that's going to hit the country. The Taliban has been talking about letting people out of the country, but in fact, it's been impossible to get out and it's very, very unsafe on the road. So in August, there was an Afghani scholar who reached out to our department about entering our PhD program, and he has a family. His partner has a PhD in sociology, and both of them have been teaching at the universities in Kabul. And they've been teaching on LGBTQ, they've been teaching on women's rights, and they're also members of a minority there, so they're at risk, and they haven't been able to work for the last 2 months. I sort of had to push him to tell me his financial situation because I didn't want to pry, but that's not something he was disclosing, and I really wanted to know how they were doing to figure out how we could help them. And he also said inflation is crazy, so it's getting really hard to buy food. So one of the issues at SFU is that how do we support these scholars? And as Ashran's motion made clear, SFU International reached out to both faculty and administrators and said, please, please try to admit Afghani scholars into the university. And so I was amazed by our school because they took action right away, and they did everything they could to immediately admit this student into our PhD program. The Dean of Graduate Studies, Jeff Dirksen, was amazing. Our FPAT Dean was amazing. SFU International has been great, but there's been so many roadblocks along the way. And I think one of the challenges is that I don't know how much our bigger SFU administration realizes how strongly we feel about supporting Afghani scholars. The fact that the country is collapsing now is our fault. With the US, we occupied Afghanistan, and Afghanis came forward to try and support the occupation in order to build a more democratic government. And when the US pulled out, we all just abandoned them and the new generation of Afghanis to the Taliban. And there was no support whatsoever to help people get out, for example, to Canada. So it was chaos. So I feel a responsibility as you know, in my problematic role as a settler Canadian for what's happening overseas, also for what's happening here. And I don't think SFU, the administrators realize how strongly some of us feel about this. And so if SFSS feels like this is an issue or concern that you want to take on, I think the more pressure that we can, like the more we can pressure SFU administrators, the more SFU International can get support. Because right now we're trying to get funding in place. And like I think I mentioned to Ashram that it called for funding. Like they've made $3,000 so far, and I didn't even know that funding campaign had started. It hasn't been spread across the universities to the different departments or anything. So there's a lot that needs to be done. So funding is great. Pressure to the SFU admin is great. And then if the family survives and gets out of the country and makes it to SFU, because they have a 10-month-old daughter and a mother as well, an elderly mother, there's going to be we're going to need to sort out help on the ground. So it's a lot, but yeah, if SFSS is interested in supporting this cause and stepping in at different points to help, that would be fantastic. So thanks so much, and a special thank to Ashran for acting so quickly at the last minute to put together the motion and coordinating this, and thanks for all your time. I know it's very late, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that information. Marie, you're next on the list.
Yeah, I also want to thank you, Ashran, for bringing this forward. I think these issues are so dire and important, and it's so important that we act on them, especially when crises are coming about all over the world. We also need to consider that us being here, our borders shouldn't separate us, you know, that we should jump in and really help our neighbors when these issues are coming forward. But this is awesome. I know you've been working on this today, like you just like put together this whole motion. So really big shout out to you. I'm going to be voting in favor for this because I think it's so essential. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was just updating the chat. And Zaid, did you want to list yourself? I know you messaged me. All right. Okay, Zaid, you can go ahead if your mic is working.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I've been having mic issues. Just basically, as Marie said, you know, I just wanted to thank Ashran for bringing this forward. I think it's a great initiative, and you know, to implore the rest of council to vote in favor as well. Thank you for doing this on such you know, quick turnaround, Ashran, and yeah, that's really it. I'm in favor.
Great, thanks, Zaid. Akam, you're next on the list.
I also just really quickly wanted to voice my support for the motion and wanted to say thank you to Ashran, and also thank you to the professor to coming to speak on this. I don't know if you guys would maybe like want to start a working group. I'm sure that could be figured out later on. But I also did want to say that I'd love to volunteer my time later on if that's needed from us counselors, and that I feel like a lot of counselors would be willing and happy to do whatever we can to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Akam. Jess, you're next on the list.
Thank you, Ashran and Professor, for speaking on this and for creating this motion and providing the history and its context. I just was wondering, so it says like to approve an initial $1,000 in the third last, be it further resolved clause. And then in the second, be it further resolved clause, resolve that council directs the executive committee, including the VP Finance and Services, to work on a support fund for Afghan undergraduate and graduate students in crisis in collaboration with the Graduate Student Society. So graduate students and undergraduate students can be supported coming to SFU. So I just want to clarify, like, there is opportunity within the future to increase the amount of donations that we can give and to increase this motion to encompass Afghan students and refugees that may need support who are in similar situations. So is that what it's implying? Just to clarify, because we may need to increase the funding in the future in case anything comes up and to support more people who have similar situations. So this is a wonderful motion and for a good cause, and thank you for doing that. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, Jess. So basically, the situation is like we're supporting a student right now, but it's a big issue. It's a humanitarian crisis. So I put this forward to the council so that we can look into this as a collective matter. And of course, we support students in the future regarding like they can be undergrads, graduate students, like any like students. Like, so yeah.
Perfect, Jess. That answers your question. I see a heart, so I'm hoping that means yes. Professor McAllister, you raised your hand. You go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It's so heartening to hear everyone's support. I just wanted to add one point, and Ashram and everyone, you are the experts here, and I'll let you just think about this. I think SFU is on, the administrators are on a learning curve. So I just contacted SFU International about the Scholars at Risk campaign to raise funds. And I wanted more clarification from them about what they're planning to do with that funding. I know it's to support Afghani scholars, but the initial part, or the first section, said it was for tuition, fees, and books, and then also family members. But in my mind, I think the funding will really be needed, for example, for housing and those sorts of things. So it might be that, I don't know what if you think about this, and Ashram, please correct me, and maybe I'm meddling too much, but it might be you want to put a clause in there about supporting the SFU advancement funding until you find out whether that's the right place to put the funding, or you might want more clarification from them. And you might put that funding aside, and decide what to do with that later. Because I think SFU, again, is on this learning curve, and then I want to see a little bit more organization or coordination from them, so things are a bit clear. And I was told that it's gonna be cleared up, but anyway, that's just a note that everything's not totally in place yet. And so if you see problems with how things are being organized around the Afghan, supporting Afghan students, please step forward, contact me, contact whoever's in charge, like in SFU International, because we've got to keep pushing them to get it right. And it's not that they have bad intentions or anything like that. It's just that I think they're on a learning curve. And so all of your genius will be really needed to help SFU move forward in the right way. So that's all I want to say. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded.
Well, thank you so much. And Marie put a response in the chat, and assuming that this is about what you put in the chat, I'll let you do it as a direct response if that works.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for bringing that forward, Professor McAllister. I think I can actually bring this to the joint operations group. We have a meeting tomorrow. We typically have meetings on a monthly basis, but there are SFU admin there where we can kind of like discuss some of this stuff. If that's of interest to you, it may be helpful. It usually puts on some appropriate pressure on them to actually get these things done or to respond to people quicker. So if you want to go down that route, just let me know and I could send you my email.
I teach tomorrow from 12:30 to 5:30. So I might not, I'm not sure if you're saying come or if you're, but yeah, so just I'll leave I'll put my email in the messaging, and if you want to, yeah, please contact me. And then if that helps.
Sounds good. And I'm happy to relay any message as well. So just let me know.
Oh, wait, can I just jump in? A point of information, maybe. Marie,
Yeah, go ahead.
did you say jog is tomorrow?
Yeah, isn't it tomorrow?
I think it's next Thursday. I just checked my calendar.
Oh, well, that's nice too. Okay. Mix up. But anyways, I could still bring it forward. So just let me know.
Sorry, I was just copy pasting Professor McAllister's email in the chat. And Corbett, you're next on the list.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to quickly speak that I'm in favor of this. I helped Ashwin with the motion earlier today. I think this is a great opportunity for us to not just reach out and work with GSS, but also TSSU, WESC, the group that supports refugee students at SFU, and other partners, the faculty associations, others. So, and I'll ask all of them to pitch in as well to this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Corbett. And Matt, you're next on the list.
Hi, I just want to say thanks to both of you for coming and bringing this motion forward. I am in favor, and I actually would like to make an amendment to the motion to increase the initial 1,000 to 2,000, and then also in the other be it resolved clause, donate an additional 1,000, change that to add another 1,000. So to have both of them at 2,000 to equal $4,000, just because I think in terms when we're talking about like supports in that way, we do have the funds that would be able to support this. And I feel as though that like in terms of like accommodations and things like that, $1,000 doesn't go like a long way, especially if there's multiple people involved. So I would like to move to amend it to increase both of those if folks are willing. I just feel as though we've been able to donate to some other things in the past, such as like the Indian residential school survivors, where we provided $6,000, and as well as last year we were able to provide funds to WUSC, and like hopefully in the future, like this is what we're able to do, and I hope that folks are agreeable. So thank you again, and yeah.
Alrighty, I'm just posting your amendment in the chat because I know I'm the only one that's allowed to post. But if any of that is incorrect, please let me know. But can I get so Matt, would you like to move to amend? So it's 2,000 from each appropriate line item?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a seconder for that, please? Ashwin, you can second. Is there any discussion on this amendment? That I can repost it to be better. I'm doing multiple things at once, so I'll repost the whole thing if that works. But any discussion on this amendment? Alrighty, going back to the main motion. Is there any further discussion on this main motion? Ashwin, yes, you're on the list. Go ahead.
So I'd just like to thank Marie and Corbett for helping out with the motion, and also Kristen for coming in. So, and also I'm really heartfelt to see everyone in support of this motion, because it's actually a really big issue that we're addressing. So yeah, I'm just showing my gratitude towards everyone. Thank you.
Just to confirm, just because I'm getting some messages, was there any discussion on the amendment made? Seeking unanimous consent. I just want to make sure that everyone had a chance. And then if not, then for Professor McAllister, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for to keep jumping in. The other thing I wondered if you wanted to consider is to wait before you disperse the money to make sure the family arrives first, because if they don't make it, this is going to sound terrible, but I wouldn't want SFU advancement to have those funds unless they directly go to the recipients or the Afghani scholars who might need them, because I think there might be three Afghani students who are coming. So that might be just another thing to consider, to just wait till they get here before you disperse the funds. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be another point I just wanted to add.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know, and somebody can jump in if we need to amend the motion for that, or just be a part of the job of finance and services to do so at the appropriate time. But Corbett, you have a direct response.
Yeah, we can hold off. This motion is just that we're committing to donate, not necessarily when it has to be donated. Ideally, usually in this situation, this kind of situation, we would do it sooner the better, but we do, as part of the language and motion, we do have to sort out some of the logistics on it, which will take a little bit of time. And so we can engage with the relevant groups to sort that out. And I believe the motion also talks about like consulting with families or doing something to reach with families to sort out what actually is a process that works for them. That's the initial purchase, and then the initial donation. The second one is to the program itself. And again, we can do that a little bit later. And if there's there's an issue where it's actually a bad idea to do so, we can always come back with a new motion.
Thank you for that clarification, Corbett. So seeing that, unless somebody has something to say, discussion has been exhausted, we can move to vote on the motion, and I will just read again the be it further resolved. And it's be it further resolved that Council directs the Executive Committee, including VP Finance and Services, to work on a support fund for Afghan undergraduate and graduate students in crisis in collaboration with the GSS, so graduate and undergraduate students can be supported in coming to SFU. Be it further resolved that support funds come from an appropriate line item determined by the VP Finance and Services, and that they consult with the students and families on appropriate disbursement process. Be it further resolved that Council approves an initial $2,000 from an appropriate line item by the VP Finance and Services to support initial costs. Be it further resolved to donate an additional $2,000 to SFU Scholars at Risk program for Afghan students through SFU Advancement. And be it further resolved that SFSS shares SFU calls to action, as well as promotes the SFU Scholars at Risk program to support students at SFU Resource Call to Action. Seeking unanimous consent, please raise your hand. Maria, I'm assuming that's not a raise of hand, but please raise your hand if you would like to abstain or vote against. Alrighty, seeing nothing, this motion moves. Thank you again to Ashra and Professor McAllister and Corbett for all your whole hard work today. And just within time, Corbett, your motion is time sensitive, so I do want to get to that, correct? And so we'll move to what is now item 8.3. And again, Professor McAllister, thank you so much for coming. I know you waited for such a long time. If you need to leave now, feel free. Thank you so much. So we'll move into 8.3, SFS office equipment purchase. And this was submitted by the VP Internal and Organizational Development, Corbett Gildersleeve, and it reads as the following. Whereas the SFSS has created new staffing positions and hired people to fulfill those roles. Whereas the SFSS has an aging office equipment that needs to be replaced. Whereas it would be good to have pool of backup equipment to provide faster response time to set up equipment for future hires or replacing damaged equipment. Whereas the Space Expansion Fund allows for the maintenance of student space, which includes the equipment inside those spaces. Whereas the Space Expansion Fund has over $1 million in surplus funds and it's historically underutilized. Whereas the Executive Committee approved to recommend to Council this purchase on October 4th, 2021. Be it resolved that Council approves the spending of up to $90,000 from the Space Expansion Fund for the purchase of 45 workstation equipment. Be it further resolved that Council tasks the Governance Committee to work with the Finance and Administrative Services Committee to develop to Council a financial policy recommending a regular office equipment update cycle so it can be properly budgeted. I'm sorry, I read that very poorly, but can I get a mover for that? Corbett, would you like to move?
Corbett moves, yes.
Can I get a seconder, please?
Political science.
Political science, I heard first. Thank you. Corbett, please, you have the floor to speak on this.
Thank you. So a brief note should be been sent out with the agenda. I did my best to make sure it was out early as possible because of the size of the money being asked for. But so I hope everyone's got time to review it and consult with their student unions. But for the most part, yeah, I just go in the history that within SFS before 2016, we were the only one, but we were responsible for our own equipment, purchasing updates, upgrades and such. And because SFS did not and still really doesn't have a dedicated technical person in the role, computers were all replaced. I know this because in 2015, when I served on the board, it was kind of scary. Now, and then after in 2016, we entered an agreement with SFU for desktop support, and which in this agreement requires us to use one, they provide support for like our software login system, hardware upgrades and fixes, and tech support and such like that. But we also have to go through SFCU's procurement process, which means we buy it through their store effectively, and through their we're subject to their ship times and things like that. And that was generally going on, was an improvement over the previous, before 2016, because computers started becoming more consistent, software is being supported and such. However, now that we've moved into the sub, and we've hired a bunch of new staff over the lot since 2020, that one thing I noticed is we started, especially when we were doing remote, we bought a number of the previous boards bought some laptops and stuff to support remote working. But now that people are back more into the sub or would be working more in the sub, we also realized, well, some of those people don't have actual computers and desktops. Like literally, when I go to some of their offices, they're just still using the laptop that was purchased by the SOS. This is not good for them, be able to be productive and be able to do their full job in their own offices. So I started looking into how many computers we actually needed, one, to replace, and two, how many were missing. And I was pretty surprised by the amount. The fact that a lot of computers hadn't been, some of our computers are as old as 2012. And even then, they were only like mid-range computers back then. So they're not exactly, they're not exactly gaming computers. And so I think now that we moved into the sub, and we have the funds in the Space Expansion Fund, it's collected a lot of surplus over the years, that we should go through this sizable upgrade cycle, buy replacement computers and new computers so that all our staff have proper computers that are all roughly on the same tech level, and have a few extra for, if there's an unexpected breakdown, or if we hire some more staff in the future, we can quickly just get them a new computer as opposed to having to wait 2 weeks or more to order it through, or have to go to council or exec and order these piecemeal. So it's quite a bit of money up front. It's like when you factor in the individual costs of the computers, so just to say, this workstations are, monitor, a tower, webcam, keyboard and mouse. They also include warranty and taxes and stuff and shipping. So the amounts you get are full as is. So we don't have to put too much of a contingency on like having to do to try to worry about unexpected cost increases. But I broke down what each computer is made from, or what the stats of each computer is for people that are more technically focused. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of options through SFU. It's like basically one type of PC and two types of Macs, one that's really, really basic and one that's actually doable. That's why there's a big price gap. But that's also why we're only buying a few Mac computers compared to PCs, because costs associated, and also not everyone needs the abilities that the Mac computers have. Like, but I also put in things like the delivery times, like shipping and delivery times of different items. So from a more logistics perspective, but also for you to understand kind of that this will take a little while to like fully roll out, which is also why I wanted to make sure this motion happened before we go to the AGM, and we don't have to wait a whole month or potentially up to a month to revisit this motion. Because directly with the Macs, probably by the time, if we prove this and start ordering even say tomorrow or Friday, it'll be a month before someone might even get into us. So I have a list of the equipment needs, and these are basically the existing roles, how many staff we have in them, and workstations need. In some cases, we have shared desks, like some people do evening shift and a morning shift, so there's no need to have literally everybody have a new computer. They can share. But in some cases, especially for certain types of roles, they have their own office, so they do need their own dedicated workstation. Listed off the new positions that have been created and how many workstations needed by consultation with staff, as well as some potential future hires that are either on the list or what we're working on. So it gives, and I gave a grand total. I did take into account that not all computers are super old. There's a batch that are from 2018 onwards, but so we didn't need to order as many as potentially as I thought. So that's where we're down about 45 computers at the end, with a few additional backups just in case. So key considerations: if we really do need to replace our aging equipment, better do it all at once, as opposed to doing it like every couple of years. And we do have significant amounts of surplus and room in the space expansion fund to pay for this kind of once every 5-year purchase. And so I recommend a purchase of 40 PC workstations and 5 Macs as listed. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Corbett, for that information. And Gabe, you're next on the list.
Thank you, Devin. Yeah, just give me a second while I collect my thoughts. I'm kind of on my last legs here. But as president, I'm the staff liaison officer, so I'm work like the closest out of anyone here with our staff, and I'm in favor of this motion because I think it's kind of long overdue. I mean, there's a couple of things to consider here. The first one is that we've had a massive increase in the amount of staff that we have over the last 10 months. And so because of that, we have been running out of equipment that we are able to actually provide our staff for them to do their work on. Secondly, a lot of our equipment is very outdated and old. And so, you know, I believe that this motion in particular will really help us modernize our tech and really equip our staff with the necessary tools in order to continue providing services to our members, you know, so that clubs and student unions can have the supports that they have and will continue to have, so that we can continue allowing, you know, our staff to work from home, just all of these things that we engage in as a student society that we wouldn't be able to do with our staff. And I'm really happy one, I'm happy to see that, you know, this would kind of be a reoccurring cycle whereby we're consistently purchasing new tech for staff, so in that it will constantly keep us modernized and up to date with the proper technology that staff needs to do their jobs. And the last thing I want to mention is that I think that the proposed source for this funding is definitely appropriate, and I hope everyone votes in favor of this motion because it is desperately needed. And Corbett and I have been working for a while to get this forward to council, and been having a lot of questions being asked around computers and technology equipment from our staff over the last couple of months. So that's about it.
Thank you, Gabe. Graham, you're next on the list.
Hi, so I want to start out on saying that I'm pretty sure I'm in favor of this motion. I just want to raise, so you're getting the computers through SFU IT services, right? Maybe this is just the PSA having personal issues or like issues with ITS, but did you look at alternate ways of getting them outside of the channel through ITS?
Yeah, Corbett, go ahead.
It's problem is we can't. We have an agreement, and we have to use SFUs not only for the sense of purchasing, but also then recycling of surplus and older equipment and such for kind of the life cycle. I don't know the proper term for it is. I did actually reach out to them to see if we can get different types of computers, take advantage of other deals and stuff, and it's not because SFU does a managed computer system where they want basically as much of the same material. Equipment, hardware, software, and stuff as possible for mass licenses and ease of their IT. Unfortunately, right now we're tied in with them, and like until we change a different IT service, if we can do that, like in the sense of external groups, this is kind of our option, unfortunately.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for that clarification, Corbett. Jess, you're next on the list.
I want to voice my support for this motion. We weren't able to support our staff for the past year and a half really well, even while they were working remote, and we couldn't get enough adequate supplies for them to work at home in a good way. And now that we're back in person, like this is our chance to do that. We're in a new building, they're in new office spaces. And just a reminder that each and every one of us are their employers. So this is us taking care of our staff. This is us making sure that they have the adequate equipment to do their work efficiently and well. A lot of them have opted out to even use their own personal laptops instead of the work ones. So that provides an ability for them to actually like separate their work and home life. And you all know how difficult that is. Some of them don't have cameras on their computer. So when they are in their Zoom calls, like they don't even have a camera on because their camera doesn't come with it on their laptop. It's slow, it's old, it's hard for them to work really well with it. So hopefully this motion passes and I'll be voting in favor, and I'm excited to see. Thank you, Corbett, for working on this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jess. Just realizing the time, can I interject and just ask Corbett quickly if the sub photo shoot was time sensitive?
Yes.
Okay.
In a way, yes. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, I will extend them. I just wanted to know. I will just extend the meeting to 9:30, and then if it's cool with everyone, I will. We will just do it after this the sub discussion item. But I'm moving to extend this meeting until 9:30. Can I get a seconder? I'm motioning to do it. Okay, Gabe
Math will
second.
second.
Sorry, I saw Gabe's hand. If that's cool. And next on the list was, did I get everyone? Ben, have you gone?
No, I
no,
haven't.
Ben, go ahead.
I guess my first question would be, you were talking about some document with regards to like the computer's specs and the various needs of staff. Can you post that in the chat?
Sure, I can post the briefing note. Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, I sent it to Devin. Yeah, because I don't think I can directly send it.
No, it's complicated. Ben, did you have another question? Well, it's going to take me a couple secs here.
Yeah, I did. I was wondering, could you maybe go into more detail as to why the Space Expansion Fund is being used for this? It's just not really clear to me that, or I'm a bit confused as to how that's allowed given FP12.
So FP12 is the use of the Space Expansion Fund, correct? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's because the Space Expansion Funds, the actual usage of it from referendum is fairly flexible. It's more flexible than we originally thought. And it's to benefit, you could use it to benefit, as long as it benefits students in the, how to say it? As long as it benefits students, student activities and such, and we can use that fund. And we've been using it for a long time in the past around paying for space maintenance and renovations and such. And this is because we already have existing computers. This is very much kind of like a maintenance aspect of the society. And being that our staff directly work with students in a lot of cases, or provide support to people who work with students, like our member services, coordinators, even execs and stuff, and council members. To me, that it all falls in with that umbrella that it benefits students and allows us to do our mission.
All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Happy to.
And then did everyone, or Ben, did you get the briefing note in the chat?
Yep.
Cool. Did anyone else have any more discussion on this before we put it to a vote? Alrighty, seeing no discussion, we'll vote on this motion, and I'll just read the be it further resolved clauses. Be it further resolved that council approves spending of up to $90,000 from the Space Expansion Fund for the purchase, of 45 workstation equipment. Be it further resolved that council tasks the governance committee to work with the finance and administrative service committee to develop to council a financial policy recommending a regular office equipment update cycle so it can be properly budgeted. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. If you would, oh, Ben, are you dissenting or abstaining?
Yes, I am abstaining.
Okay, as there's contention, we're going to have to put this to a vote. And so I'm going to try to quickly go through this.
You want me to do it, Devin?
If you're prepared to do it, you can, but I have my list here as well.
Yeah, I have a vote tracker document that I use. It's
easier.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so if everyone can please just be prepared to tell me how you're voting when I call on your position. Archaeology.
Arc votes in favor.
Bachelor of Environment.
In favor.
Behavioral Neuroscience.
In favor.
Biology.
In favor.
BPK. Communications.
In favor.
Also, if you aren't able to verbally say your vote, please direct message that to me, not Devin, because I can't see it if you send it to Devin. Computing science.
In favor.
Criminology. Data science. Engineering science.
In favor.
English.
In favor.
Environmental science.
In favor.
French.
In favor.
GSWS.
In favor.
Health science. History.
In favor.
IAT.
In favor.
International studies. Math.
As I said earlier, math will abstain.
Megatronics. MPB. Philosophy.
In favor.
Physics.
In favor.
Political science.
In favor.
Psychology. Science.
In favor.
SAS.
In favor.
And just psychology is voting in favor, just backtracking a bit. Software systems.
In favor.
Theater. FNSA. ISA.
In favor.
SOCA. The president votes in favor. VP Internal.
In favor.
VP Finance and Services.
In favor.
VP University and Academic Affairs.
In favor.
VP External.
Matt direct messaged me, but in favor.
Thank you, Devin. The VP Equity is not in the meeting. VP Events and Student Affairs.
In favor.
Did anyone not cast a vote? Okay, please give me 2 minutes. All right, I've tallied the votes. And on this vote, the yes votes are 27. There are 0 no votes, and there's 1 abstention. So this is carried unanimously. I'll pass it back to you, Devin.
Yeah, thank you. So that passes and there's new computers. That's awesome to hear. And we're gonna move into discussion items, and just for interest of time, Gabe, are we good to skip the SFP climate emergency declaration? Cool. And we'll just move to 9.2 sub photo shoot. This is submitted by Corbett. So Corbett, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try not to be too long on this. Our architects, Perkins and Will, the people that designed the sub, are going to be doing a photo shoot of the sub to add for their portfolio and things like that. We also will get in those photos, and we'll be able to use them for our own marketing and history and all that stuff within the SOS. What they need is 20 students to show. And ideally, it'd be great to have council members, executive members, and committee members and such to attend. The photo shoot is on October 30th, which is a Saturday. Excuse me. It's an all-day thing, but you will get it's a full day, but you'll get lunch provided for you, and there'll be gift cards. I don't have the amounts yet. I'm still sorting that out with, or still learning that from staff. And you'll be a bit immortalized. So anytime we show pictures of the sub, you'll probably be in there if you attend. So it'd be really great to have students attend, and again, because you're a part of the history of this sub being opened, it'd be great for you to be there to help out and to be a part of this. Again, free lunch, some gift cards, and being immortalized. It would be really good if you can send me if you're interested, email me, and I can forward that on to staff so they can contact you with all the details and the specifics. Can you put my email and stuff in the chat? I'll post this in Discord as well, but also reach out to some of your student unions. Like if they live on campus or they want to be available on that day, they're welcome to sign up for this as well. But you all get, as council members, you all get first crack at it.
Awesome.
So,
Hear about I'm just posting your email.
Sure. Thank you.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, this is October 30th,
30th,
kind of an
Saturday,
all day. Cool.
Saturday, October 30th. Yeah.
Just in time for Halloween. Yeah, so email Corbett if you're interested in the sub-shoot. Did anyone have any thoughts on this outside of Corbett? Oh,
yeah.
I have some lists, Corbett, if that's cool, or
Sure.
were you
Yeah.
finished? Okay, cool. Kylie, you're first.
Yeah, sorry, I just had a quick question. If we like mentioned to our DSU executives about it and they were interested, would you want us to give them your email and have them email you? Yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Shashank, you were next.
Yeah, hey, as much as I love the opportunity of being immortalized, which I probably will, I'm definitely showing up. I feel like extending invitations to alumni who've been waiting for this building for like infinity number of years would be really nice. So if it's just a suggestion, if we could, otherwise it's okay because I know that they're busy as well. It's something I want to throw out there, but hell yeah, let's go. Photo shoot.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea either. I can ask about that. I think they prefer like active students, but you know, if we have room, why more the merrier, right?
Alrighty, any other thoughts? Great, seeing nothing else, we'll move on to 11, which is just an announcement that the World Lit Counselor is having leave of absence from October 6th to 20th for personal mental health leave. And then number 12, which is a notice of motion titled Resignation, Leave of Absence and Regrets. This was submitted by Corbett, and it reads, whereas R6 resignation, leave of absence, regrets has policies around leaves for council members that are very basic, whereas the policy does not allow for flexibility in different forms of leaves, reduced working hours, or other options forcing a councillor to either work through their challenges or go without stipend. Whereas stipend supports the hours and work contributed by council members who rely on them to pay costs. Be it resolved that council approves changing R 6.7 to the following. Of this leave of absence, 21 business days of these may be paid in relation to sick leave, mental health leave, bereavement, ceremonial leave, and family obligations. No medical note is required for this. Reduced hours surrounding times of these leave of absence may not be seen or shall not be determined as neglect of duties and unreasonably penalized. It is the expectation of the councillor in question that there shall be an appropriate move to normalcy in terms of the expectation of workload. And so that's just a notice of motion. I believe there's no discussion today, but that will be, I guess, November, our next meeting. Yeah. Okay. And I guess if you want to reach out with questions about it, it would be to Corbett, who wrote this. Awesome. And now we get to the fun part, unless anyone had anything else to say. Which is adjournment, so we can all go to bed, which is it be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 9:15. Gabe, are you waving to?
I'm moving the motion.
Okay, Gabe is moving. Can I get a seconder?
Math.
Okay, I heard math, but I heard a lot of you wanting to leave. And so seeking unanimous consent, if you would like to stay later on the Zoom call, unmute yourself. Alrighty, seeing nothing, we are done for the evening. Thank you all for your labor. I hope you have a great night. I hope you all rest, and I hope, Gabe, that you feel better. And I hope anyone else feels better as well.
Thank you, Devin.